Brilliant, and we are back. Welcome to everyone again. So I'm Rob, project manager at Screen Pages. I'm joined by Alex, our account manager, and Christina, the legend in marketing. Okay, I'm now doing a thing where you can now start to say your own titles. The funnier, the better.
We're going to work it in.
We're going to work it more and more. So you know, if we can just get a promotion that way. It's a good plan. So what we do in these formats, and we'll continue if you did watch the episode last week, is we're just generally going to have a chat about things that we've seen in the world of e-commerce, things we like, things that we don't like, and some advice around it. So who wants to start us off? Alex, looking at you.
Yeah, well, to be fair, so I think you wanted to cover some topics around email marketing, right?
Yeah. Brilliant.
So yeah, there's actually been some really interesting moves happening with some of our clients at the moment. There's been quite a big shift from traditional salesy type of attempts at email marketing, which are generally not working as well as they have previously done, for obvious reasons. But ones that are working well are kind of more, compassionate and informative content, filled emails. They may have relevance, obviously, to do with the industry that you're in, stuff that you know about, stuff that you're a professional in. But yeah, giving people information on what you're doing, how you're handling the virus situation, lockdown, how your business is working, pretty much giving people reassurance on if they deal with you that everything is going to be fine, because it pretty much always is. And also letting them know that, that you're here to help them through, whatever they're going through at the moment. And here's some information and here's some content to kind of keep you guys occupied, because to be honest, everyone's got a lot of time at home. So yeah, there's been quite a few examples of people, putting out cooking videos, or rather cooking, instructions, those kind of things, gardening, exercising, anything like that, because people have time and they're going to use it. And if they're using your content, it builds that brand loyalty a little bit more. And yeah, hopefully that will result in them going back onto the site and converting.
Also, sorry to interrupt.
Right.
So in episode 2 of our useful strategies to combat disruption, we spoke with Gavin, who's the head of strategy and insight at Dot Digital. And he mentioned a lot of useful things, but he did say that, for a lot of businesses, they don't know how to handle communications at this point, because you don't know if you should just be business as usual or, take some other more considered approach. Because especially depending on what, industry you're in, that will vary. But also, regardless of that, I think because people are consuming so much content and because of the nature of the situation we're in, people also need to feel inspired or want to feel inspired. So a lot of times, even if it's not something that you would think is necessarily useful, in a business sense, it might be just a good idea to just obviously think about it, but share with your clients and customers and engage. It doesn't have to be, this will save your business and this is why we're emailing you. Sorry to bother you. It might just be inspirational or something lighthearted.
Yeah, it takes time to pull that kind of content together, but I think companies really have to recognize that they can use that content on multiple different channels. They can stick it through email, put up on their blog, through Instagram, Twitter, whatever they're using, and they can really make the most out of it. So yeah, although it takes a lot of time to get it together and look quite a lot of thought, you can kind of apply it to so many different scenarios that I'm sure will pay itself off.
No, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I guess if they've got your general demographic have got more time, you can feed them more content, the stuff that may be a benefit of them or just sort of a nice touch point. We've got so many people are under the furlough scheme and things like that at the moment. Not us, as we're all sort of sat working a billion times an hour still, but the joys of being web developers. So yeah, that's good feedback and stuff like that for using emails and approaches to the customer in a nice way. I think it's great as well, because I don't actually ever really notice that many good things. I just glaringly notice the bad things. So I need you guys to boost me up again to give me that optimism. So yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to jump in now and just say a bad thing that I've noticed. It's really annoyed me So I've got some stores and stuff like that are sold out of products. They're absolutely smashing it. You've got sort of sports and fitness brands, DIY places like that. But what I hate is when I'm on a website looking at their product, trying to find a certain product, find it, navigate to the product, and then be told it's out of stock.
Mm-hmm.
It's why I'm fine it being out of stock, but I must have looked at the same weight set about 50 times, being like, that's the same one I looked at earlier, which is out of stock. So that's fine, but maybe utilize things like pro labels or things like that, just to make that customer experience a little bit better and smoother. It's great if those people want those products to be informed about it. And if you do have products out of stocks and you can utilize it, email when back in stock notifications would be a godsend. So that's the first bit of advice. And then go into real big rant now of the same companies that do this, where I've actually looked at this stock loads of times, and then I get an email 10 minutes later saying, hey, did you forget something? Here's what you were browsing. And it's a link back to the same product that's out of stock still.
Yeah.
And it's driven me mad.
Yeah, if it wastes people time like that. I mean, I know everyone has time at the moment, but it'll drive everyone around the bend. That'll drive me around the bend. If I was looking for something and I couldn't keep track of basically where it was out of stock compared to where it was in stock, that would definitely drive me a bit mad. I mean, a lot of getting email marketing right is a lot of it's trial and error. So something that some companies have done actually is, because it hasn't been working in the way that it worked traditionally for them, is they almost stopped experimenting and they turned it off. I'd say don't do that. Obviously it's going to have a cost if you're using certain methods and certain email marketing platforms to send your content out through. But generally speaking, it's quite a solid way of bringing in revenue, and it's pretty consistent. It won't always be front of the pack in how a company makes money, but it's pretty reliable. So it's all about trial and error, realistically. So I just recommend that people don't pack it in too early.
Also, sorry to, I'll have another shameless plug of our useful strategies to combat disruption series. Because our episode 4 is, we just pushed it out today, and that's with Cleavoo. So part of what Sarah discussed with Ian from Cleavoo was how to deal with stock shortages, how to display that on your website, maybe make the most of it by showing similar products or whatever. But I think it's an issue for a lot of companies at the moment, and I think it is because tensions and stress levels are quite high with everyone. It is probably better not to be irritating. And back to episode 2 that we had with Gavin from Digital, another thing he mentioned that is important is to put your branding over sales at the moment, because it's really a time that we will eventually come out of this, but the way that brands have handled the situation internally, externally, will stay in people's memories. So it's really important. These things that might seem insignificant, I think they do have an impact, especially when you add it up like that. If your site search isn't showing stock shortages and then you're still getting emails that are showing you stock that's not there, like all these kinds of things do kind of add up. I'm not saying you're going to lose clients, but it might be important to take a look at these things for this interim period for sure.
Yeah, and when a lot of people are, unfortunately, being furloughed, and some companies not doing so well, so cutting back on certain industries. If you haven't had to make any cutbacks, it's probably a good time now to kind of, I guess, focus on the projects that you normally wouldn't have the time to focus on or the resource to focus on, and to basically push those out, because it'll be a time to kind of get ahead of the game. If there's some steps that you've taken that have led you to be able to continue operating the way you've always done in the past, it's quite a good opportunity for some customers to really, I guess, make the most out of a bad situation.
No, that's great. It makes sense. And to refer to Christina's plugs there. So what's the name of the videos that we're doing again? So I don't get it wrong.
Are you asking, or are you being sarcastic right
now?
No,
I'm asking.
Useful strategies to combat disruption.
Brilliant. Okay, so what that is, that's also other videos that Screen Pages are making, which are slightly more serious than this one. So it is us working with our partners just to give some general, more specific advice rather than us just having a bit of a rant. So I always recommend you check them out. We're not ashamed of plugging stuff here. That's fine. If you do want to sponsor this video, that's not a problem at all. Get in contact. I'm sure we can work something out. Just start doing some product placement as well. How far we can take it. I don't think anyone's going to do that.
No, hopefully not.
No, honestly, the reason I'm shameless about plugging the series is because our intention is, obviously, we're not making anything out of this. Our intention is to inform merchants as much as possible. And that's why each episode is on a different topic that we think is really important to, I mean, the first episode was fulfillment, how to deal with fulfillment issues, and also how to get online if you're a merchant that doesn't have an e-commerce store, how to set that up quickly. Then we had obviously email marketing and communications. We had user-generated content and loyalty. Now we have site search. We're going to have probably discussing warehouse and ERP solutions soon, and online payments. So there's all these kinds of facets of e-commerce that, are super important. And at this point in time, you might not know how to handle it, how to navigate it, how to pivot your strategy. So, there's short videos up to 30 minutes that could be really useful to watch. So that's my last plug.
No, it's fine. It's all for a good cause to help people out. Ultimately, we do this for everyone in the ecosystem, for e-commerce and things like that. Also for our clients, if we give you the best advice possible, you're going to make more money, and then you're going to want us to do more development stuff. Yeah. So it's win-win all round. But that's fair enough. Other than that, so I'm a little bit cheerier now, so less impact for this. There has been an increase in online sales across the board, and again, it's gone even further up. Predicted sales values for e-commerce in the UK it's gone looking like it's going to go through the roof. There are obviously industries that are going to be massively hit, but hopefully we'll come out swinging out at the end of it. We'll try and end on a good note to say it's an optimistic world out there, especially for what we do. But you're going to struggle for a while. Yeah. But everyone else is. So it's not just you. But yeah, like Alex referred to earlier, if you do have the time and the downtime now, look at other projects. I would always recommend just doing as much testing on your site as possible. B2B testing, if you've got family members that are bored and things like that as well, get them to just give some feedback on the site. Nothing can hurt, and it might just give you a bit more strategy for the next 3 to 5 years of what you want to change and where you want to go. I know no one's really thinking that much about the future, apart from sort of baby wear companies that are expecting a boom in 9 months. Yeah. Don't know why. No, yeah. So, is there any other comments from you guys? Anything you want to add? Anything you want to say?
No, not really, to be fair. I think it's you pretty much hit the nail on the head, is that although it's going to be a rough few months for everybody, it's even the clients that are doing really well, they don't expect for their booms to last forever. They expect for it to go back down to normal levels at some point. So they're planning ahead. What if it doesn't work out in basically in everyone's best interest? So everyone's having to make plans, and it's not easy. But ultimately, people are still spending money. They're still out there. It's still the world is still moving, and there's no reason to kind of let this whole lockdown situation completely shut off your opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot about adaptability, obviously, as well. Obviously, within reason, within the resources that each business has. But yeah, it doesn't have to be,
Brilliant.
Worst thing. Yeah.
No, you're very. We're all optimistic people on this show now. Calling it a show, we've gone to the next level.
On this show.
I think I need to sort of do more of these every week, as we just want to have a general chit chat about what's going on in e-commerce, the good, the bad, the ugly. If you've got any other suggestions or things you want to talk to us, or random questions that basically 3 people who are very heavily in the e-commerce world to try and answer, let us know. If not, join us next week, where you will see our hair even longer and scruffier.
I promise I won't shave.
pretty much.
And Alex won't shave. Great. Thank you very much, guys. We'll end it there then.
Yeah, stay safe, everyone.
I